Hey, here's the promise lesson 36. This lesson is rather short, so hopefully you'll understand what I'm going to do. We're going in this lesson to use the distributive property to expand. We're also going to use the minus sign and negative exponents. So use the distributive property to expand. So if we had something like this, 3 times x plus 2, you would know how to do that very easily. You would expand it. You would use the distributive property. You take 3 times x and 3 times the 2, so we get 3x plus 6. We're going to do this, except this time we have exponents, which makes it a little bit more difficult. So we're going to take the outside term and we're going to multiply it times the 2 inside terms. It's actually the outside factor times the inside terms. So here we go. We deal with the numerator first. So we have x squared times x squared. The bases are the same, so we add our exponents. So it's x to the 4th. Then we do the denominator. Y squared times y. Bases are the same. We add our exponents. So it's y to the 3rd. So we're halfway there. Now we just take the outside factor times the second term in the second factor. So we're going to get 3. Because there's no other numbers, just a 1 there. 1 times 3 is 3. X squared, and there's no x squared, so we just put that down, and we have a y cubed. There's no exponents to add because the bases are different. And then in the denominator, we would have y squared times the m. No exponents to add because the bases are different. One final step that I didn't count on here. If you look at the second term, it can be simplified. There's 3 y's in the numerator and 2 y's in the denominator. So the first term can't be simplified any further. It's just x to the 4th over y to the 3rd. The second term, however, can be simplified. We have 3x squared. We have 2 y's in the denominator and 3 in the numerator. So we subtract the exponents and we just have 1y in the numerator, and then we have our m. Alright, hopefully you understand how we cross these out right here. It's the same thing as having y to the 3rd and moving the denominator one up and getting y to the negative 2, which would just give us y. Or else we can think of 3 y's multiplied together like this over 2 y's multiplied together like this in the denominator, and so we would have all these crossing out and we're left with 1 y in the numerator. Let's try another one. Let's distribute this one. We're going to multiply it times the first term and we're going to multiply it times the second term. So if you look, m, a, x, p, none of them have the same bases, so you just write that all down, m, a, x, p. And in the denominator you have a z, m, k. No common bases, so no exponents to add. In the numerator over here, this is the same as being over 1. So we're going to take the m times what's in the numerator. So that's going to give us negative 2 m to the 5th, because we have an m to the 1st and an m to the 4th. When the bases are the same, we add our exponents. And it's going to be p to the 4th all over z times 1, which is z. We're almost there. In the first term, we can cross out the m with the m like that, and there's nothing else we can cross out. If we look at the second term, there's nothing we can cross out. So we're just going to end up with axp over zk minus 2m to the 5th p to the 4th over z. Just a couple easy steps for these. It's not too bad. Alright, let's try another one. Let's expand. Take this times this times this. Using the distributive property, we also call that expanding. So that times that. So the first term is we have an a and we have an a, so it's going to be an a squared. We have a b times a b, which is a b squared, and then we have our trailing x. All over c squared times c, like bases, so we add our exponents. Now we have 3 terms this time in the second factor, so we have to take the factor outside times the 2bx. So we're going to get plus, hold on a second, my phone is ringing loudly in the background. So we get 2ab squared x, because we have the b and the b is b squared, no one else has any like bases, and then this is the same as being over 1, so it's going to be c squared. And then finally we do our fourth term. It's just going to be minus 4. We always put the number first. You don't want to bury the number in an AB4 like that. That's just wrong. So you're going to have negative 4 AB all over c to the fourth. Now you have to go back and look at every term, see if there's anything that could be canceled out. And if we look at every term, there's nothing we can cancel out, so this is your final answer. All right, that's it for using distributive property. Now we're just going to do a little bit with minus signs and negative exponents. So we just have some problems. I feel like we did these before, so they shouldn't be too new. If we have 4 squared, let me get another color here. If we have 4 squared, it's going to equal, it's just going to be 4 times 4 is 16. If we have 4 to the negative 2 power, it's 1 over 4 squared. To make it positive, you move it, if it's negative in the numerator, you move it to the denominator. If it's negative in the denominator, you move it to the numerator. So that's just going to be 1 over 16. And now this one's different. It's a negative. You kind of use your thumb and you cover up this negative and you just square it, so you get negative 16. If it was like this, then, like you're going to see below here, you get a different answer because the negative sign is also going to be squared. So this is just going to be 16. Now we're getting really tricky. We have a negative 4 and a negative 2. So in the numerator, you're going to get a negative 1 because you need to hold its place because everything else is moving to the denominator. So this one would be negative 1 over 16. And then finally, we have a negative 4 squared. So that's the same thing, or to the negative 2 power. So it's going to be 1 over negative 4 to the positive 2 because we moved it down to the denominator. And that's going to be 1 over positive 16. This one ends up being negative because it doesn't have the parentheses. Okay, I'm going to do a couple practice problems here. Now here the negative is in the denominator, so we have to move it up to the numerator. Now what to do with this negative sign? The fraction is negative, so it doesn't matter where you put the negative sign, but you usually don't leave it in denominator. So it's going to be negative 4 squared, which would be negative 16. You don't want to have 16 over negative 1. It's technically not wrong, but it's not right either. So 16 over negative 1 is the same as negative 16. And one more. We have negative, and that would be, you'd have to leave a 1 up there. That's this negative right there. And then you bring this to the denominator, negative 4 cubed, like that. And you would get negative 1 over 4 times 4 is 16 times 4 is 48. And now we have a negative and a negative, so it's going to be 1 over 48. And that is, 2 negatives make a positive. So that's it for lesson 36. All right, that wasn't too bad.
Those headphones like cancel out any noise.
No, they don't.
Okay. What else can we put on salad?
There's tomatoes, a tomato over here. There's cucumbers. There's red peppers.
Well, I used the salad from whatever that was.
Oh, really?
It has some of the lettuce is like bad.
We have our own lettuce in there too.
Yeah, I mixed it together.
Okay. Are you making this for everybody? So nice of you. I forgot to leave an extra credit point in here.